Much like they're having problems sorting the mail, they're not going to sort this one out very easily, at least not in the next few days. This is a rare Saturday session to vote on a $25 billion rescue plan for the Postal Service. But more interestingly, Michelle, it would stop the Postal Service, at least temporarily, from removing mailboxes, as we've seen in some parts of the country, from moving around those sorting machines at distribution centers. This is exactly everything President Trump says he doesn't want to see happen, that his Postmaster General doesn't want to see happen. So while they may pass it today in the House, it won't pass in the Republican-led Senate. And look, all of this just exposes a decade-long issue at the Postal Service. It's losing money as it starts delivering different kinds of things through the mail. More packages than first-class mail, and, less mail more often. So, you lay that against the pandemic and the upcoming election, and there's obviously a lot of controversy and concern, but this has been a long simmering problem that Congress and the White House have been putting off for years.
Ed, there was polling going into the Democratic National Convention that people wanted to hear more from Biden and Harris about what they would be doing with their administration, less about President Trump. How did they do at reaching those expectations?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. Look, Biden himself, didn't share very specific details in his remarks about what he would do, but he did outline broadly that he would do things like a national mask mandate, make better use of the Defense Production Act, in his view, to force the production of medical supplies and equipment here in the United States so that the country is no longer dependent on China or other countries around the world for PPE and issues like that. Talk broadly about taxes and preserving Social Security, but beyond that, over the course of the week, very little specific mention of what exactly Democrats would do, not only if they take back the White House, but if they take full control of Congress. So we'll see in the coming weeks if that has any effect on the standings, not only for Biden, but for congressional candidates across the country. They're enjoying a lead right now, partly because Joe Biden simply isn't President Trump. That may be good enough for Democrats. We'll see, with about 73 days to go.
Okay, so same question now for the RNC then, Ed. Is the focus going to be more on what they believe or the president believes can happen over the next 4 years, or more on Joe Biden?
It's a good question. We actually don't know very much about what exactly will go on next week. The Republicans are still scrambling to put together what was supposed to be an in-person event in Jacksonville, Florida, remember, that now will be held very similarly to the Democrats from multiple cities, including the South Lawn of the White House, where the president will accept the nomination again Thursday night. The president has struggled over the last several months to explain what exactly he wants to do should he be reelected, and much of the focus instead has been on Biden and what he calls the radical left and how they're overtaking the Democratic Party. So over 4 nights, we are expected to see a lot of that, and we will be listening for sure to see if there's anything specific the president says about what he'd like to do should he win another term.
Ed, obviously, this is a virtual convention, which is what the Republicans will also have starting on Monday. How has that connection been with voters not having it in person?
This is a really interesting moment, I think, not only in politics, but in how we consume television or video. I mean, look, ratings were down overall on television, but the streaming audience online was up. And you talk to Democrats across the country, as I did in recent days. They said, look, given what we were handed, the situation we were given, we did a pretty good job, they think. And even television critics were saying that this was really compelling television, that they enjoyed it. 2 things I think will be repeated. That virtual roll call where they went from every state and territory across the country to tally up the delegates, and each state did it a little differently. And then they held a very interesting, almost like Real Housewives style reunion show of all of the candidates who lost to Joe Biden. That is something I think they should require of all the vanquished opponents every 4 years.
Yeah, I'm a watcher of that show, and yes, that's exactly what it was. Plus, calamari in Rhode Island is what we all now know. Ed, thank you. We appreciate the insight.